Good. All right. Let me just see. Make sure I've let in. Okay, attendees are coming in. Okay, everyone. It is 5:59, and you all know how I love to be on time. Good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you. I'm so happy to welcome you to episode 6 in this series, the final episode in this series on this leg of the journey for Moving Beyond Pink. It is my absolute pleasure to have you all here with me this evening. And I just want to remind you, if you just joining us for the first time, that Moving Beyond Pink is our series to help support persons who are impacted by breast cancer, to promote awareness for things that may not be normally discussed, and to just offer a space, a virtual space of support. I like to call it our virtual support community, where we share on so many different topics. We've had an amazing journey so far. We started in July with our first episode, Embracing Support, and we moved into treatment aftershocks, radically changing you, who is on your team, body image, and now we're going to talk about navigating your way beyond. My guests this evening are 4 lovely, wonderful, beautiful women, 3 of which have been on camera with us this journey from the very first episode. We have Tanya Powell and Sonia Lang. They were my very first 2 guests, the first people to put their trust in me to come on board and share their stories with us. And so I'm so excited to have them here as we come full circle to share how this journey has been for them. And so I welcome Sonia, Tanya, welcome, welcome, welcome back
Thank you.
home. Welcome back home.
Mhm.
And we have Kamala. Kamala has been on both sides of this webinar, as a participant, an attendee, and as a panelist on our episode 4, Who's on Your Team. And Kamala is back here tonight once again as we come full circle to share with us her journey and lessons going forward. And she also wears 2 hats. She wears a hat of an associate psychologist. Well, she wears many hats. I shouldn't say 2. She wears many. But for our experience tonight, she's wearing her hat as an associate psychologist, and she's wearing her hat as someone who has been through the journey with breast cancer as well. And we have Dr. Christine Thorpe, who is no stranger to this. She's actually been behind the scenes from day one. We just haven't seen her face. So we're happy, happy, happy to have Christine here tonight. Christine shares my vision to see, a better healthcare system. She's one of my partners and a director in Navigating Health Services. She's our education director. And so she's here tonight to share um, on another level as well. So we want to welcome you all, and I'm so grateful that you took your time this Sunday evening to be here with us. So we're going to get right into this discussion. So you must be wondering, what are we talking about when we say navigating your way beyond? As we spoke about from the very first episode, we recognize that this is a journey that we're on. It's a journey. And anybody who's going through any kind of health experience, health challenge, or even life itself is a journey. And on that journey, we spoke about the fact that you may have smooth sailing and you may have potholes. Some may be deeper than others. Some may take years to come out of. Some may, you may be able to come out of it in no time at all. But one of the things we spoke about is the fact that coming out of um, that pothole, support is useful. It's necessary. And one of the things I wanted to do with this program as we journey with each other is just kind of, yes, kind of put it in sequence in terms of when you start the journey, some of the things that you may be needing, like support, and why it is that some people may not willingly, readily embrace it. And so this is what Tanya and Sanya did when they came on and shared their journey in terms of how they were able to do that. And then we wanted to move along and talk about what comes next, after, well, I was told that this is where I am right now. And I have accepted some form of support. And now I'm gonna need treatment. And as I get treatment, these are some of the things that I may not have thought about that would come at me. And we discussed that in treatment aftershocks. And as we got into radically changing you, we started to talk about some of the other things that people may not have thought about, different approaches to care. So we talked about the integrative approach to treatment, and we had Dr. Andre Williams on, and he was very, very good in explaining to us some things that we don't normally think about. Like, for example, what is your definition of food? What is food? Is food just, any old thing you pick up on the shelf in the supermarket, and teaching us that there are other ways to nourish and care for your body, so that was very important. And then who's on your team helped us to understand that on the journey, there are people who are critical on that journey. And who are those people? They're your doctors, your family, your friends, your counselors, your priest, so many different people, even your children, there's so many people that can support you on a journey. So we went into a great discussion about who is on your team. And in body image, we went into a discussion about some of the things that happen as your body changes on the journey, and some of the challenges that some people may face with that. And the creative ways we have come up with to address some of those things, to help people feel a little bit more confident and empowered, on their journey. So today we're going to talk about some key things, but we're going to start by talking about something that's very passionate. I'm very passionate about, which is how this program started, and that's patient navigation support. Now, I don't know how many people know what patient navigation is, but in essence, this entire program has been doing that, assisting to navigate you through a process. So you may not realize it, but that's what we aim to do with this particular program. And so I bring on Christine here, who is the one who brought me into the world of patient navigation in the first place, to just kind of tell us, Christine, just give a definition and a little history on what patient navigation is for our guests tonight.
Sure. So patient navigation is the process of supporting educating, and empowering patients through the healthcare system, wherever they are on their journey, whether it starts from prevention, detection, diagnosis, treatment, throughout the process, even to the point of end of life care. Patient navigation started with Dr. Harold Freeman in Harlem, New York, and he started the whole process of patient navigation by way of his work in the community as an oncology surgeon. He noticed during his work that the women in the community were coming in with later stages of cancer and could not understand why they would not come to Harlem Hospital. And he went out into the community and would start asking questions. Why? What is it about the hospital? They're not coming in. Why are they waiting so long? And what he learned was that through history, and there's a long history, I won't necessarily go into it on this call, but the community did not believe that the hospital was for them. Mm-hmm. So in turn, realizing this and wanting to address this issue, he identified key people in the community, people who were the ones that if they spoke, anyone in the community, people would listen to them. These are your strong voices, your leaders, people who understood the community in and out, inside and out, and had a connection with various groups. He identified people through the churches, through community organizations, and said, hey, let's work together to change things. And he identified these people, brought them in, and trained them on how to navigate the hospital. Hence the beginning of patient navigation and the development of patient navigators. And these are people who work closely with you through your process and help you to navigate and move through the system in a way that helps support you to get the resources you need for the care you desire for your experience. So through Dr. Freeman's visionary work, he developed the Freeman Patient Navigation Institute. And it's through that institute that I've worked closely with him over the years from the very beginning to train people around the world. And it was such a pleasure to be able to extend that to Patrice a handful of years ago. And she took part in that training. And over the years, we've cultivated this to develop navigating health services and hold our very first training together in Jamaica in February earlier this year. So Kamala has been part of that. And we were very excited that she is one of our trained navigators of the several who we've trained. And we're looking to expand into 2021 because Jamaica is the beginning of what we've been doing. And we want to touch on other areas so that they have this opportunity to be able to work through the healthcare system and get the services and care that they need.
Wow. Well, you see, thank you, Christine, for that great breakdown of what navigation is. And so you would see, based on the definition that Christine just gave, pretty much what this program has been doing, trying to do those very same things to assist you to see what you may not have, been able to process before in terms of what may be barriers to your care. Because essentially you're trying to remove barriers to care, and in the beginning when we were talking about embracing support, if you don't want support or you're not open to accepting support, that's going to create a barrier to you receiving the care that you need, so this is why it was so critical for us to do that. Now, navigation, like everything else, has been on a journey, and it is in fact shifting to so many other ways to support persons. So it started with breast cancer care, and it has moved on to supporting people with other conditions as well. And, as Christine mentioned, utilizing people with a strong voice in the community. So I don't know if you think my voice is strong, but I've certainly been trying to preach it. And I look at everyone who has been on this program, in essence, as doing some form of that too. These ladies here in front of me, I know Kamala is using it in so many different ways, with her work. But I look at Sonia and Tanya, and in essence, they have been out there navigating people in various ways as well, whether that's just assisting, persons to access something that you knew about when you were undergoing treatment that they weren't in awareness of. And so now you are showing them, hey, you can do it that way, or pointing them to people who can assist them. So that is critical to accessing the quality care that we all deserve, right? So that's the first thing we have to understand and recognize, that we deserve quality care. So as we go forward with navigating health services, we are in awareness that we're gonna be offering that kind of support to you in so many different ways. So yes, this program and other programs such as this, and yes, even though this is the final episode, you'll be hearing about how we're going to move forward to offer support to you, to all of you on this journey. And so I just wanted to put that out there so that you have an understanding of what navigation is. Does anyone in this webinar today have any questions right now about navigation? Because I'd love to hear your questions. Today is going to be, we want you to be very interactive with us. It's the Kamala little round table talk. Yes. And I want you guys to feel free to to ask whatever questions you have to ask as we assist you to navigate your way beyond your diagnosis, beyond wherever you find yourself right now on your journey. Our job here tonight, what we want to do, our intention here tonight is to assist you to move forward, right? So I don't see any questions coming through, but just remember the chat is open for you to ask whatever questions you need to ask with regards to navigation support. So I mentioned that navigation is shifting. So I'll just giving you an idea of some of the things that we would do. Navigators can help you to sit and prepare for your doctor's appointment. I know many of us going to the doctor, we have no clue what we're going to ask. We don't know what to do. And so, you know, we can sit with you and help you kind of work out, okay, these are some of the questions you need to ask so you have a better understanding about where you are in your journey and what you're going to need, you know, moving forward with your treatment plan and all of that. Sometimes we even accompany people to doctors' appointments. I did that recently. Took a couple to a doctor's appointment, you know, because they needed that additional support. So there's so many ways that we can give support. And so that's important for you to know that. And that there are different types of navigators. So Christine, maybe we can explain that too. The different types of navigators. We have lay navigators, which is mainly what we focus on training because we want people to be able to go into the community and reach out to others in that way. But there are also navigators with more specific functions, such as nurse navigators, who will work in the hospital and assist in a more in-depth way, you know. And Sonia, maybe that's something you're suited for too, with being a nurse, you know, trained as a nurse. So we have legal navigators, we have social workers who are navigators, because we tend to think that when people don't access care, we tend to think it's more financial why people don't access care. But the reality is that there's so many different reasons. There's fears that people may have of the system. I have my child at home and I have no one to leave my child with. What do I do? You know, so there's so many different aspects to this type of support, right? So we just want you to know that this support is available and we're ready and willing to offer that to you. So, all right, so we spoke about navigation. I want to get into something as we talk about this journey that we've been on. That's, I think, very important. And this is where I'll have you ladies. Oh, we have someone from Trinidad. Hi, my name is Shaliza, and is there a support group in Trinidad I could contact for information or support relating to cancer? Ooh, Shaliza,
wow, Patrice.
Yeah, in Trinidad, you know, I don't know if there's a group, but I do know though that there is an organization in Trinidad that offers navigation, patient navigation.
I'm going to try and look that up, and
I'll share that link, or Christine, someone will help me to share that link for you, Shaliza. But certainly one of the things we're looking to do with this particular sitting, Moving Beyond Pink, we're grateful for the Zoom platform. I know a lot of us may be a little tired of it right now too, with constant Zoom, but this is a platform where we have been able to connect with people worldwide. And I'm grateful for that because Sonia is here. Sonia is in New Hampshire.
Yes.
I've had guests from as far away as New Zealand. Oh, sorry, South Africa. You know, on the last program. You know, and so this has given us an opportunity to connect with people all over the world. So this is why I'm calling it a virtual support community. And certainly this community will remain open in various forms, and we'll explain to you how that will go on, you know, in future. So Shaliza, never fear, even if there's no specific group in Trinidad, which I'm sure there must be, we are here and we welcome you as part of our group of support here, you know. So
there, Patrice, there's a one in the Q&A also.
There's a Q&A? Let's see.
In the Q&A, yeah.
Hi, Kasian. How can we support you? No. How can we support you? I see you recently, started your journey, and let us know how we support you. If you don't want to say that publicly, that's fine. You can send a private message or an email, and certainly will support you. And this is why I'm so grateful that the program itself is also, the episodes are available on YouTube for replay, because I really feel that that's going to be beneficial for a lot of people at different stages of the journey. They can go back through and look and listen, you know. So I want to bring in Tanya and Sonia here. Sonia here, you started with us at the beginning of this journey, and there have been certain changes from that are evident. I look at Tanya, and Tanya has more hair, because when we started this journey, Tanya, I'm mixing up my stuff now. We started this journey. Tanya was in the early stages of her process, and so it was very interesting. Oh, there you go. Christine just put in the group, Caribbean Cancer Research Initiative for you, Shaliza. That's in yeah. So, at the beginning of the journey, we are now looking at you, Tanya, with some transformation, physical transformation. But tell us a little bit about how your journey has been going and where you feel you are right now.
Right. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Patrice, and thank you for having me again. And thank you for continuing to work with me. I guess in some ways I just realized I am a navigator, because every time I go to physio or, my surgery follow-ups and I see people hurting the arm, I say, you need to go and see Patrice. But thank you. And just to also say thank you to Sonia, because we started and got to know each other at the beginning. Yeah, so my journey really started. It's been a year now. I really just, what was it, about 2 weeks ago, completed treatment. I did my last Herceptin shot about 2 weeks ago. And so, as you mentioned, the physical changes. When I came on first, I had no hair. Now I'm already at this stage of, what am I gonna do with this hair? I see my eyebrows starting to pop back out. But those are just physical. I feel absolutely fantastic. I'm starting back my exercise in earnest, but being very mindful. But I think where I am, Patrice, it's more of perhaps a mental shift that has occurred within me. And, as I was sharing the journey and going through, and people were thinking, oh, you're so brave to be sharing in the middle. And so I thought I was doing really, really okay until the episode with Dr. Williams. And, when he started speaking about even a counselor. And so I said, and I spoke with him, and he suggested it. And I was like, no, man, I'm doing fine. But I I took him up on the offer, and I spoke with a counselor, and it was one of the most revealing conversations I've ever had. And so what that has done for me is just opened me up to even more of understanding, perhaps even, and I say these words very mindful of how people may or may not interpret, but it also opened me up to be mindful of how I might have contributed to a state of decline in my health. Then let me put it that way. And with that, what can I now do to restore and move forward? And so, the biggest thing and where I'm at now that has come out for me out of that session with her was, sometimes we get in a space of where we decline when we're suppressing a lot of things. And I think the more she dug in with me, there was a lot of suppressing. not from a bad place, but from a place of me really, really supporting everybody else out there. And then realize I was kind of suppressing, and small in myself. So now I'm in that space, as she said, go for your dreams. So, I've delivered the first draft, let me put it that way, of my TED Talk, which is really Dare to Thrive Through Adversity. And as we were going through the program, this is one of the things I was trying to do, just not just survive. And this is one of the things I really, really want to get out there and say, we can dare to thrive, not just survive. So, that's where I'm at, putting it all together. Yeah.
I'm grateful. I'm happy that you said that. And before I get to you, Tanya, Sonia, it's bringing me into something I really wanted to touch on next, which was the power of thinking. So often on this journey, as I work with people, one of the first things we talk about a lot is, you have to keep positive. You have to think positive. And we were discussing this the other night. Tanya, you were saying it too. That's something that's where you're on a different phase on your journey now, thinking about how you think.
Yeah.
Now, especially here, we talk about the fact that, in Jamaica in particular, we have a very strong sense of connection to the church, and and one of the things is that we are told that we have to think positive. You can't allow no negative thought into your mind, because where you are in this journey right now, only positive things going to get you through, and you don't want no negative people around you, and you don't want to. And I understand that is very, very important. But one of the things for me that I'm, even as I think about my own life and acknowledging certain aspects of it, is that we have to look at the full picture in order to be able to move forward to get the support that we need. And sometimes that involves looking at the certain aspects of things that we may be calling negative, but I wouldn't necessarily consider them to be negative. It's just that this is where we're at. These are some things that we need to address right now, And so how have you guys been able to use the power of thought to assist you on your journey? I want to hear from all of you. How have you been able to use the power of thought to assist you on your journey? What about you, Kamala? Let me start with you, because you can look at this from so many different angles. So let me start with you. What do you think about the power of thinking?
So as I heard you just kind of framing the question back to Tanya about our different cultural contexts and how, especially when there is a religious component, sometimes there is this aversion to owning all the feelings. I would start there. I would start from the standpoint that approaching our emotions with non-judgment is so crucial to having good outcomes. And so I talk openly to Christian groups, to whatever groups I'm speaking to, about the fact that I was angry, I was sad, I was depressed, I questioned God, I was not amused, I didn't feel like talking on some days, I turned my phone off for some days. All of it is true, all of it is real. There were some days when I felt sorry for myself. There were some days when I felt beautiful and amazing. There were some days when I felt like crap. And all of it was authentic, and all of it is okay. As a therapist, my caveat, so to speak, would be just to be mindful of not right or wrong, but helpful versus harmful. That's the other way to approach it. So to stay in a funky mood doesn't help the body, it doesn't help the emotions, it doesn't help the healing. And so that's the only thing I would say to persons to help to motivate that shift, as opposed to, oh, I thought I had faith, how can I now be doubting, how can I be sad? All of it is true, all of it is real, all of it is valuable information. And I had to confront a lot of it in my journey. Kamala, why do you feel so angry? And then I think maybe Tanya and Sonia can attest to the reality that for me, some of the drugs that were part of the treatment, what should I say, cocktail, did have the side effect of causing depression. And so even some of my chemotherapy drugs caused deepened depression. So I would have been sad, obviously, but there was like a depth to it because of the drugs. And so it was a catch-22 that really forced me to be more mindful of what's going on, what's real, what's not real, and where do I want to ground myself, but still giving myself permission to feel all my feelings. It's interesting because I'm at a very interesting place in my journey, which I haven't spoken about publicly yet before now. But I had some routine checks recently, and there are some very scary moments that I'm still working through. And so the power of thought for me is still very real. And that's why I could not come here this evening and be a hypocrite to say, oh, just think positive thoughts. Because it's been 7 years for me post treatment. And there are still moments in the journey where you're wondering, what if? And you're wondering, oh my, is this? You know what I mean? And so all of it is real. And that is why, for me, the big picture has always been, and even now more so, becomes more relevant. For me, purpose was how I grounded myself. That I'm here to do some things, and I'm going to do those things, and trusting as I'm moving through my purpose journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it really is working through the fact that the things that we may consider to be negative, or the things that come up on the journey, are things that basically showing us that we need to address something. You know, we need to address something may not be in balance, or am I ignoring something that I shouldn't ignore, whether that be my lifestyle, am I doing too much, or, you know, am I not eating properly, am I not resting enough? You know, that there are aspects that need to be addressed, and putting on, I don't really want to say it like that, but putting on blinders to say, you know, everything is great and God is in control, which is awesome. Yes, true. But here we are now, you know, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people that I've worked with who would basically be saying to me, God is going to heal me and God is going to take care of this, Patrice. And that's it. I'm not entertaining any other thought. I'm not, you know what I mean? And here I come to say, and I completely support you in how you feel, because that is important for you to have that connection. But I want you to also to let's just look at where we're at right now and some of the things that we need to just address.
I have a question, and I guess I'm using the word freedom, Patrice. How do we get people to get on a journey toward freedom, to be able to release? And I wanted to throw that out, if I may, to the ladies on the call. How do you get to the point where you can be free to release yourself, to feel it all and not hide from those feelings? What would be helpful for those listening now to hear, so that they can face that fear of all the thoughts that come with the experience and not hide behind the positivity as this veil that's actually causing, in some people, more harm than good? What is that next step, or that thought process that releases people to begin to become free with those feelings?
If I may, again, Patrice, I feel like a part of it too is the dynamic that Tanya and Patrice referenced, which is sometimes we can fall into patterns where our lives are about other people more than they are about us. And I had to acknowledge on my journey that there were some things that I was so mindful of not doing, and it wasn't for my own comfort, but for the comfort of those who were supporting me. For example, I realized that my mom is my everything, so don't get it twisted, right? But I realized that for her, one of the most triggering visuals for her of my journey was my bald head. That was like the sign that brought home to her that my daughter is going through the battle of her life. That was like the big cancer for her. And so I spent the majority of my hairless days covering up my bald head with a scarf, or always having something on, because I knew that it triggered her. And I remember one of my best friends came by to visit me one day, and she said, "Come, don't put that on because I'm here. I'm fine. Like, I see you." And it was like I needed that reminder, because I've been doing it with mom for so long, because I went back home to have that support. And it was just a quick trigger to say, oh yes, I have been doing this. And for many of us, even pre-cancer journey, just people in general, especially women, we can be socialized to suppress as Tanya mentioned, we can be socialized to filter and to contort ourselves to make our emotions more palatable. So I feel like an important place to start is one, from a little bit of psychoeducation. All emotions teach us something. And in
Yes.
that way, they cannot be bad. It's a matter of how we act on them.
Yes.
All emotions are messengers that come to tell us something. Therefore, all of them are helpful. That's number one. And number two, are we trying to be positive because we don't want to be judged as not being Christian enough or spiritual enough? And if that's the reality, then that means that we are in a space of living for validation, which is cancer or not, sickness or not, that's an emotional issue. That's a problem that we need to work on. So all of it is information, and all of it is telling us how we need to pivot to be healthier.
I completely agree with you. And when you think about, as women in particular, how many times we do that, how many times do we cover up, hide, have this need or desire to protect not just those around us from the truth, but ourselves. You know, we're partly protecting ourselves from the experience in essence. Sonia, I want to hear
Yes.
your experience though. I mean, how do you feel
For
about the
me,
power of thought on your journey?
For me, I am 1 year out from finishing my treatments. I did 19 months. For me, it was like I worked at a hospital full time in nursing, and I was there for 10 years, and I felt like I was let down just because I lost my job due to my cancer.
Remember you?
So yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely like Tanya. I've got into counseling. I'm still in counseling. I find it very beneficial. I've gone through all the stages like everybody else, the happy, the sad, the angry. But for me, I started on my journey. When I first started treatment, I got a care package. And after my journey, I decided that how could I give back to the communities? So I started my own nonprofit organization, and it's called Sonia Savior's Care Packages. And what I do is I put together care packages for people all over the United States. If it wasn't so expensive to ship, I would send it all over the world.
I
But to
know.
date, I know we're working on it though. I've been working with Patrice, and we're going to work on these things. But to date, we've gotten out 182 cancer care packages in 11 months. So for me, to bring up my spirits and stuff was to give back to others. I don't know about everybody else on the panelists, but for me, giving back to others has been very beneficial to my healing. I also started my own podcast where I interview cancer patients. That's also been very therapeutic and healing for me. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on my journey. I'm really doing well. I'm pushing forward. I'm going through all the symptoms, that come along with the treatments and coming off of the treatments. So that can get a little bit dark some days. But majority of the time, I think just giving to others and sharing our stories, sharing our experiences is very positive for me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Tanya, you go ahead, Tanya.
Oh yeah, that's just so awesome, Sonia.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to, before I forgot, add to the question Christine had asked, to that road of freedom. And one of the things, so I don't know if a big part of what prepared me to go through my journey was actually that I was caregiving for my mom on her journey just the year before. And so there were so many things that I would have learned that we did together. And, when we talk about the thought process, which feeds into the question Christine was asking, we put together what we call this recipe. And when I talk about Dare to Thrive, we actually create this recipe which sort of brought us to this place of more freedom. And for us, we started each day with a morning routine, our devotion, and our prayer, intention setting, journaling. And I think journaling has become such a big part of my every single day now, because it helps me to release and just feel free. And I have 4 different journals, journals for different reasons. You know, I'm creating something else. I'm writing about my perfect health, and it brings me into that space. I have one that is just strictly for gratitude, and that alone, just when I sit in the mornings and do my gratitude journaling, that alone just creates this sense of believing and faith and taking inspired action. And that brings me to that space of freedom, and then being able to now chase my dreams and share that with others. Yeah.
I like how you say
Yes.
taking inspired action, because I was I was going to go into now talking about, you know, we have discussed before the importance of being an advocate for your own care, because you know more than anybody else what it is that you desire, you need on your journey.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about that inner guidance that we all have, you know, that thing that says, no, that's for me, or yes, that's, you know, that's for me, autonomy and inner guidance. And to find out from you guys how important that was on your journey. I mean, and did you really find yourself tapping into that space of, you know, yeah, is this okay for me? Is this right for me? Or were you more, you found yourself listening more to outside voices on the journey?
I was listening to my loved ones above. That's what I always say. My loved ones above.
above.
Yes, anybody above. I have a lot of grandparents who have passed away who I have actually felt on my journey. And that's just me. I'm open to all.
Mm-hmm. What about you guys?
For me, I felt like towards the initial parts of my journey, there were more outside voices, especially because I did not have a clue as to what exactly this should look like. And I find that as a personality thing for me, especially when I'm in a new space, I tend to defer to others because I don't want to do the wrong thing. I don't want to act because I can be headstrong. I don't want to jump out and be headstrong and then mess things up. I was very amenable. I was very open. And then I reached a point in the journey where I had to realize that, okay, I think I've got it now. I understand the options very well. Thank you for the clarity and all the, you know, the support info. I know I feel like I have to be true to myself and make choices that, excuse me, that are ideal for me and not for anybody else. So that was it was like a marked difference for me beginning. And then after maybe about 3 months or so, I was like, okay, let me tell you guys what I want to do.
Right.
And I remind you of that quite often, that this is my journey. And it felt conflicting at some points because sometimes I think people can mistakenly feel like if you disagree with them, it's a mark of lack of gratitude, you know, being so present and being supportive. But for me, I had to realize that this is about life. Like in many ways, this had life and death implications. And then even if not death, but I had to live with the decisions for a long time. So I had to make sure they were right for me.
And that goes back to what patient navigators do, is to help you become empowered with your decisions. And for you to say, I needed to do what was right for me, is ultimately what we want each person to have, that voice with the right information before them to make the best decision possible, what works for them. And then also part of the navigator experience is to help families understand that this is your choice and you have that right. Being diagnosed with cancer doesn't mean that you give away your ability to have choices or rights. Whether or not your loved ones care for you, you are still able to make decisions that work best for you and what you believe is necessary for you. And it's the family and caregiver's role to support that and love you along that way. And that's part of what the navigators help with their patients and their families, because it's such a challenging experience, and to have someone to help look at it from multiple lenses and guide them along. Yes, it's really critical.
What about you, Tanya?
Yeah, I think for me, it's perhaps a little closer to Kamala's. At the outset, I listened to my medical team, no one else, the medical team. And so my family and I, we were with the medical team. And by coincidence, the same oncologist who had cared for my mom happened to have been by sheer coincidence, actually. So we had developed that trust in him. As I went along, or perhaps it's just now that I'm like, okay, now that I trusted that team for my treatment. Now I'm sitting back and saying, okay, based on where I am at now, what's best for me? What do I want? But I have to say that for me, it didn't come up as any challenge because my family and my support was always there. They always turn, well, what do you want? So, it was a little bit easier for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's critical. And I'm happy that your family felt that they could ask you what you want, because one of the things I'll note sometimes will happen is if people don't see you pushing like quickly to make a decision in terms of what they feel is going to be beneficial to your healing, when your doctor says you must do this now, and they don't see you looking like you're actively moving towards doing something, they get antsy, and it really is because they care. They just want to be sure that, do you know what you're doing? You're not moving. What you doing? You know what I mean? But it's also important for us as supporters, to recognize that sometimes our role is simply to step back and allow people the space to process, and then just be supportive. Just keep that space, hold that space for them, and be supportive, and give them the space to come to a decision that's right for them. As I always say to people, no matter what scans are out there and whatever anybody else is saying or doing, you know what your body is feeling because you live in it.
Right.
And you're the best person to advocate for you because of that reason. You're the best person to say, that particular drug is making me feel like I'm insane. Even though you're telling me it's not supposed to, it's making me feel like I'm insane, and I'm telling you I can't take it anymore. Do we have an alternative? You know what I mean? And important for you to understand and recognize and remember that you have a right to a second opinion. You have a right to say no. You actually have a right to say no if you feel that that's part of your journey. But I don't want you to rush and say no without getting proper information, which is also what I see happening a lot. Out of fear, people just say no to everything. I'm not doing that chemotherapy. I hear it kill people and it make you look ugly. Take off your hair and I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Or I'm just gonna go strictly one route because I'm going to go natural all the way and I'm doing it this way. And you don't have the proper guidance and information to do that. So we're talking about a more balanced approach, to a more holistic approach then to care, is what I want people to think about. So part of this, I was listening to Kamala talk earlier about the whole situation where she was wearing the scarf for her, to kind of help her mother to feel better with the process, and it brings me back to, there's a particular book that I read, which is a big thing for me. A lot of people have heard me talk about this book, When the Body Says No, by Dr. Gabor Mate. And it's funny because there's a little section in there where he spoke about that, going to visit his mother when she wasn't well, and he had a bad ankle or something. And he actually walked into the room as if he was not feeling any pain. And it's after he did that, he realized that whenever he had to encounter his mother, he always wanted to ensure that she didn't have any inkling of him feeling pain or suffering in any kind of way, because that impacted her, and so many times for us, we do this and we suffer in silence, even when our bodies are saying, no, 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 you need to stop. We're not listening to that, and one of the things that that book highlighted, and I want to throw it out to you guys tonight, he talks about, is there a possibility that there's something called a cancer personality and what that looks like? And essentially, one of the things that you know he suggested is that when people who don't know how to say the magic word, N-O, no. There are a lot of studies that show that that no word, a lot of people who can't say that no word end up on a journey like this. You know, I don't, how do you guys feel about that? Did you have a problem saying no?
Well, for me, in the beginning of getting diagnosed, I was told that if I didn't start my treatment right off the bat, that I had 8 months to a year to live. So I got my port placed really right after being diagnosed, but I had no problem saying no. I looked into things. I also had a nurse navigator during my, journey, and counselors and, social workers and stuff like that. And I always made sure that my voice was heard and that I was able to say no. So for me, it really wasn't hard because I knew the journey would be hard. So for me, saying no was not difficult.
But what about before the journey began?
Mm-hmm.
Before the journey was
as
hard.
an individual.
Yes, as an individual,
that's
saying
what
no
I'm
for me
yes.
is hard.
Yeah.
Yes. I think having cancer made me more powerful in that manner.
That's interesting. Yeah. What do you say, Tanya? I see you putting up your hand saying,
yeah. And when I said, it's one of the things that came out of the session with my counselor, and she had me do whatever test it was, that I'm a type 2 person that just really gives and gives. And when I was diagnosed and as I was reflecting, I was like, oh man, I didn't even know how to spell the word no. If you asked for something and I couldn't in that moment, I'd go wrap my brain how to even So as I reflected on that, and this is why I also said where I'm at and the space I'm at is also about acknowledging how I might have contributed to the breakdown, and if that is a part of it, where am I now on being able to say, I'd really love to be able to do that, but at this time I can't. Those words could never come out before,
yes.
Now they can. So yes, a lot more power, as Sonia is saying. Yeah.
Yes. I'm doing the hands up.
Amal, I see you're ready to say something.
So for me, I feel wary of the cancer personality type of approach. I fully understand and appreciate it. I feel like, especially for those who may be on, who are fresh in starting the journey, it can be a bit heavy. I'm thinking of to feel like, Tanya is powerfully stating that she can look back with fresh eyes to say, some things were perhaps complicit in some ways in the breakdown of her system. But I feel like each of us has to make that, call it diagnosis.
The personal journey, yes.
And it can be a very heavy thing to confront. So I'm mindful of the weight of that. That's number one. And it's interesting because I see clients for a variety of different issues: emotional, relational, physical issues. And I go back to the beginning of my journey, where a sister of mine had shared a link to an article, which was kind of hard hitting. And the article was entitled, "Don't Waste Your Cancer." And in a conversation with another sister with whom I was reflecting on that article, she said to me that it has been coming very powerfully home to her about the fact that there are different types of cancers. They're physical cancer, but they're also emotional cancers, and they're cancers of relationships, and things that are malignant in the way we show up to love and the way we show up to power and all these things. So I feel like I would want to zone out a little bit and look at it even being a little bit separate, like it's distinct from cancer. I feel like we all have things that we're carrying around, some malignancies, that if we zone out and say, being able to stand in my power and say this does not work for me is beneficial just generally. Whether or not you develop cancer, just as a life, just about winning in life, I feel like it's important for us to be mindful of the ways that we small up ourselves. and that we make our lives about other people. So that's how I would kind of reframe that.
I agree with you. And I mean, that is by no means all that he was talking about in the book, you know, but it brought out this thing about, it's really called When the Body Says No, the cost of hidden stress. The idea is that there's so much that can impact us, and we call it hidden because it's only hidden because we don't choose to see it. And it's true that, as Kamala said, depending on where you are in your journey, some things may just feel like somebody just cut open a fresh wound and you can't touch it. And it's perfectly okay if you can't in that moment. Nobody's saying, you know, that you have to go right in and dig in and just start uprooting everything and shifting everything. It won't be like that for a lot of people. You know, so it's a process, it's a journey, it's sometimes very baby steps that we have to take to kind of get into our ourselves, our whole, how we believe, our biology of belief. That's another term I got, our biology of belief, what that is. You know, before I move on, I see something come up. I'm trying to catch every question as it comes. Awareness is very important, not only with breast cancer, but other cancers. When I was diagnosed, I never heard of this cancer, colorectal. Everything happened so fast. Treatment, surgery, treatment again. I just want to live. That is powerful right there. I just want to live.
Very powerful. Yep.
And that is it. You just want to live. And what does that look like, to live and to live fully? I know that's Kamala's mantra this year about living fully. Yeah, you know, I think that's what we all seek, an opportunity to live fully. But when we sit and process with ourselves, whether we are diagnosed with an illness or not, as Kamala was suggesting or alluding to earlier, is that there's so much out there that will prevent us from accessing that, from living fully, if we're not paying attention to the various things that we have hidden inside of us, you know? And so it's critical that we truly examine ourselves as you want to try and move beyond whatever journey, healing journey that you're on right now. Whether that is emotional healing or physical healing or whatever healing journey that you're on right now, it's so, so important.
And Patrice,
right, to start going in and examining ourselves. Yes, Kamala, go ahead.
If I could add something, going back to the whole thing of saying no, and to the earlier conversation we had about sometimes how it can feel like I don't want to seem ungrateful, like somebody's helping me with something, and therefore I have to be saying yes to pretty much everything that they ask of me, because otherwise it may make me seem like I'm mean, or I don't appreciate what they have done for me. And I sat with a couple of clients over the last couple of weeks, and it's literally shocking to me every time how deeply ingrained this thing of niceness is, especially for us as women, for people who identify as women. And it's jarring because in one of the situations that was shared with me, that person's physical and emotional well-being was at stake. Like they could have been harmed in a very real way. They could have been assaulted. And yet still what was overriding was, well, this person was helping me, so I don't want to seem like I'm minimizing how helpful they have been to me. And so I just want to put that out there as something for us to reflect on, even as we're starting a new year, that for us to be truly well, we have to, as Patrice said, confront these things and throw them out, because they're not serving anybody at all.
We have
create
to
boundaries.
Ourselves. You have to create boundaries, set personal boundaries, and keep them. So you're not just setting them, you're keeping them. I mean, and honestly, I'm not sitting here saying that I know it all, and because a lot of this is really truly for me too. Like I said, we're all on our own different healing journeys, you know, whatever that may be. And certainly being on the journey, assisting others all these years with breast cancer, other cancers, and so forth, it really has opened my eyes to so much, in particular how little we actually live. we don't live. You know, we're alive, but we're not living. And there's so many things that prevent us from living. I remember a woman walked into office one day, and I only saw her once. She only came to me once for an evaluation. And she said to me, you know, people may think I'm crazy, Patrice, but the reality is I feel like if I didn't have breast cancer, I would never live. I would never stop and smell the roses. You know, and so it's really been a healing experience for me. You know, that's similar to what you were saying earlier, Kamala, that article. And you know what I mean? So many of us are not, that we tend to think of it as just, oh Lord, something, you know, it's so bad, I'm going through this experience and whatever. But for many people, it's the first opportunity that they've had to actually really show appreciation for life and living, and finally begin to live their lives fully.
Yes.
You know, so I think this is a great space to move into the discussion. I don't know what happened. Kamala must have lost her connection. Hopefully she can come back on. But it's a great space to move into discussion about healing and what healing is for you, for all of us, what healing is. And I'm going to read just a little line here. It's from the same book. It says, whatever external treatment is administered, the healing agent lies within. Right? And to find health and to know it fully, that necessitates a quest, a journey to the center of our own biology of belief. That means rethinking, recognizing, and recognizing, literally to know again our lives. That's what he says healing is. What do you say healing is? What about you, Tanya? What do you say healing is? Or Sanya, sorry.
I'm still healing. Physically, I'm still healing. Mentally, what healing did for me, I just had to find it in myself to find a way to help others. I've always been a caregiver of others, and that's how I've healed. But physically, I'm still healing from everything. Mentally, again, healing from helping others.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
Yeah, so for me, you know, as I thought about it, I actually broke it down into stages and also let me use the word categories. So for me, I really thought about it, my healing from the perspective of emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial. I'm not even going to leave out financial healing.
I hear you.
But when I put it all together, the first place I realized that the true sense of healing for me means connecting to my truer self, my higher self. And you know, and then what comes with that, because a connection with my higher self means that you know, how I view my emotional state and well-being. So now it's all about being in this place of, I just sum it up in one word as being in this place of Zen. I'm really not into any drama, you know, and it's not about being in denial, but it's how do I maintain this place of Zen? It's about, when I connect to my higher self, it's about healing spiritually. You know, and for me, that's a closer connection and an awareness with my oneness with God. That's how I'm seeing it. And then there's physical. What do I now need to do to take care of the physical? You know, make sure I'm at my ideal weight, going through my treatment, but restoring the body now. So I looked at it now from treatment, and now it's restoration, you know, kind of a thing. And obviously, and I'm not going to leave it out, Patrice, because you know the cost of Herceptin and Perjeta in Jamaica. Part of the healing process is also looking at my finances. You know, how do I heal that finance? So for me, healing, you know, I put it in categories so that I can deal with them in categories. And I have plans and I have journals and I have, you know, visions of each category: my health and well-being, my relationships, you know, my work and career, my time and money freedom. I look to all those to how I heal and restore in each sector. And it's like creating, or as you said, what was the last thing he said? To know again, to get to know
To
you
know
again.
again
Yeah.
your life, yeah.
Yeah. And when I look at it that way, that's how I feel, like I'm just getting to know life again in all the different quadrants.
Kamala, welcome back. I see we had some outages there that kind of bumped you up, but welcome back. We're talking about what healing is
Thank you.
for you. How do you see healing?
That's a big question. Healing is, I want to say it's a journey, first of all. I think we're always going to be on a healing journey for as long as we're alive. Because healing for me is not only being rid of an existing condition or an existing issue, but to also repair from harms that we experience weekly, daily, monthly, whatever. So in that way, I think it's a continuous process. Because I mean, I can have a particular ailment right now, with the emotional, psychological, physical, and I can recover from that, but then other things may come as I journey. So I feel like healing for me is being on that journey of constantly renewing and building up my resources. So building up my inner resources, building up my boundaries, building up my well-being, to pretty much manage like a rainy day situation. So whenever the next challenge comes, for me to also be as prepared as possible for that, and not only being reactive to it.
I love that, because it's truly what it is for all of us, that every single day we experience situations from which we need to find ways to heal, you know? And so it's so important to recognize that we're always on a journey of discovery and healing ourselves. I wanted to put out there, to share something that I received, you know, when I was training as a cancer coach, to discuss with, you know, my clients. And it's a list of what they call 10 characteristics of cancer survivors, or people who have healed from some prognosis that was not necessarily the greatest. You know, they interviewed a number of people worldwide and they came up with this list. So, you know, I'm not saying that this list is for everyone in the sense that everything about it will relate to you, because as we've been saying, that this journey is a personal journey for everyone. But I want to throw out some of these things, and we can just, you know, hear what they are and see how, you know, you feel about them. So the first thing on the list is, in spite of being told that their cancer is incurable, they have a deep belief that the body can heal itself. I don't know about, you know, anyone else, but I feel that the body was designed and always is designed to do just that, to work for us, to heal us, you know? So that's one thing. And Kamal, if you have anything you want to add, I know that, you know, you may have to leave us soon, but if there's anything you want to add on this as I go along, just jump in and say, you know what I mean? So that's the first thing. I believe that the body can heal itself. The second, that you take some control or assume a recovery program that is unique to you. Reclaim your own responsibility rather than just relying on experts. We spoke about that earlier, about autonomy, inner guidance, you know. The third thing, that you reconnect with spirit, you know, awakening a long hidden desires and aspirations, and reconnect with authenticity to feelings and values and decide to live them. I think you were speaking to that a little bit too, Tanya, a while ago. They deepen and bring honesty to relationships with others. Right? That's a big, big thing. Are we really honest with our relationship with ourselves and our relationship with others? So that's something to consider. A complete reassessment of life is undertaken, and you're willing to make changes. You know, that could include diet, lifestyle, career goals, relationships, but that you have that willingness to change and to shift, right? Radical changes in diet have been associated with spontaneous remission. It may not be for everyone, but for some people that has been a journey that they chose to undertake that has worked for them. And that could be decreasing processed foods, refined foods, animal fats, and consuming more fruits and vegetables. Some of the things that Dr. Williams spoke about when he was on the program with us, what food really is, you know. Taking, for some, vitamins and supplements, things to support your immune system. And for all of us now, right here and now during this COVID period, that's something that we need to be considering constantly. How are we boosting our immunity? You know, so not just to prevent against cancer or what have you, but just in general, so that we can live our full lives, right? They slow down. Take time to relax and fully enjoy the gift of life. Often for some, prayer and meditation become a regular practice. Yes, reconnecting. They become in tune with their bodies and listen for cues relating to energy, emotions, and body signals that are part of daily life. Connecting and knowing your own body language, I call it. What is your body saying to you, right? That's very important. And number 10, they rejoin with social networks and experience the joy of being of service to others through their own healing. They help to heal others. That's what Sonia has been doing as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of these things I find so interesting have come out already in the conversation that we've had. You know, so it's just food for thought, you know, as we process moving beyond. And the whole aim of this program was to help to empower, to educate, and support you. And I want to hear from you now if you feel that on this journey with us, you were able to receive any of that empowerment, education, and support. Now it's over to you, our attendees, to kind of
Well, we have a comment.
We have comments. I see comments coming. I can't.
There are a lot of them. Yes. Alicia is asking, are there any tips to regain self-confidence after treatment? And I thought that was
that's a good question.
Yeah, a very good question.
Yes.
Yeah. What you say?
Any tips?
I mean, and I'm going to just put it out there too that some of you may be joining us for the first time, but I encourage you to go when you have the time. Binge watch on Moving Beyond Pink from episode 1, because a lot of these questions have truly come up in the conversations before. But certainly, any special tips you ladies would like to give with regards to that particular question?
For me, you know, self-esteem, or on the outside, but really on the inside, I had to find myself on the inside. I had to figure out, you know, I had to really work through so much. So that's a hard question. That's a very good question.
What about you, Tanya?
Yeah, awesome question. And so for me, and I saw something else about losing the hair. So when my hair went, you know, I just felt like that was just, you know, crazy for me. But the first thing I realized, the first thing that happened for me in terms of just really feeling alive again, I don't know if confidence is the word I'd use for me, but perhaps it is just that confidence to go out, was one, I really got into that space of really understanding my purpose. And part of understanding my purpose were questions like, why am I really here? Why am I, how am I growing through this? To what end? How do I use this? So I was constantly seeking at some point to understand what is it that, for me, what is it that God has purposed me to do? And why would I have been put through this fire? To go and do what? And as I started to think that way and build my self-belief and reconnect to my higher self and, have those conversations, then I started to just even listen to this now, go even on social media and share my story,
Yeah.
snippets of my story as I was going through. And even as I was doing that, and this may not be for everybody, but even as I was doing that and I was getting the responses, and I recognized that I was helping or supporting at least one more person, that in itself helped. So the number one tip or so that worked for me was just kind of spending time with me, just getting back to who I truly am and what I believe my purpose on this earth is here for. And the other thing was, after going through all the ups and downs and the emotions that we still continue to go through, but for me, it was asking the question, how am I growing through this? And then how do I use that now to support someone else? And even, I didn't see the name of the person who asked the question, just doing something like saying, you know what, I'm going to do a TED Talk. But it's also about having that freedom to say, you know what, this is my life and I love my life. I have life and I love it, and I'm just going to get up and live it. That was step one for me.
For me, as Tanya was talking, I got a graphic in my head, right? An idea came to me. I was trying to figure out how has it been for me in terms of confidence. And I heard Tanya touch on what is also my foundation point, which is purpose. And it says like there's purpose and then there's confidence. But I feel like what I realize is in the middle for me is value. So because I am here to do a particular thing, I am a valuable woman. I'm a valuable person. And regardless of how my body has changed, value still resides in me. Yes. And I have to sit in it, live in it, drink it, sleep it, eat it, know it inside out. And then when we do that, it kind of radiates outwards. It becomes a part of how we show up. Like, I think I deserve to be listened to because I'm valuable, not because I'm bright, not because I'm whatever, but because I'm flowing in purpose. I have value. I dress a certain way because I'm valuable. Yes. I'm confident in myself not because of what you think, but because I know and I'm grounded in my purpose, that I was made by a very intentional creator. Therefore, I am valuable as a fact. So if I lose hair, if I lose a breast, if I cut up my belly, if I have scars, if I have these awkward side effects because of treatment, there is still value in me. And therefore, it comes out many times as confidence. And it takes intentionality because we do respond to what we get from the outside. Yes. Like recently, I had an experience that I feel like I need to go on a TED Talk to Tanya. So please guide me on the journey that you're accessing this TED Talk, because I got some things to say. Mm-hmm. I went for a checkup recently and it was so interesting. So of course, I had to pull my robe aside for them to examine the particular breast that I was examining. And especially because people still see a youngish face, and I was diagnosed 7 years ago, I feel like many people are still very curious about me, sometimes in an unhealthy way. They see me as like a specimen of something. So the ultrasound tech, who was the only one interested in me, who spoke to me like a person. So I felt warm towards her. So I did my scan. I was about to leave. So I pulled up my robe over this side. And she said to me, based on my file, she said, oh, you also had reconstruction done on the other side. So I said, yes. And she said to me, can I see the reconstructed breast? And maybe it was a poor boundary decision on my part, but I decided to show her the reconstructed breast. And her response to me was, oh, it don't look too bad. No, first of all, that's not something appropriate to say to anybody, right? Secondly, I spent millions of dollars on this boob. So I was grateful and I was shocked. I was pleasantly surprised by my response. I was annoyed. But I calmly said to her, I like it and I'm grateful. And I pulled up my robe and I stepped out of the room, right? So my doctor, who's very blunt, he said to me, so Kamala, why are you so generous with showing people your parts, right? Like she should never have gotten access to you like that, firstly. But I'm also grateful for how I responded because I like it. And it took me a while to get there. And so
Yeah.
I realized in that moment that I had come maybe full circle in many ways to going back to confidence because, of the journey I described. So that's how I would respond to that. Tanya, tell me about the TikTok thing.
I love what you said about value, because I think that's what it boils down to, to recognize our value in general. And a lot of us, in particular as women, we maybe attach that value to other things, whether that value be to what I'm wearing, how I look, or, what my husband thinks I look like, or what the outside
Relationship
world.
status.
Yeah, because I've had that experience working with some women in particular who have not been able to look at themselves because they just feel like my value has been, diminished now because something came off of me, and so even though their partner may not be saying that to them, their partner may be saying, hey, I love you just the same because I still see you. For them, they're still not at that place yet where they're ready to accept, that something physically has shifted with me, but my value still remains the same. So that
You,
I'm happy you
if
mentioned that.
yeah, I really love that too, if I just may. And something Kamala said, about, when her mom would come around with the bald head, it was the same thing for me. And now that I look back and, I might say something crazy to some persons who may be at the beginning of their journeys now, I look back and I wish I had embraced that a little bit more. Well, a lot more, because now I want photos of it and I have none. No, but I truly get that. And if it's one thing I could leave with someone who is listening, who is there and really feeling, listen, when I think about it, I'm not sure I looked any more beautiful with my bald head than any worse. What am I saying? I did still look good with my bald head. I
Yes.
did. And in fact, I looked in the mirror and I said, oh my God, I am my father's daughter, because I looked just like my dad with my bald head. But I didn't own it. And if I were to say that I have a snippet of regret, it would be that I didn't just own me and know that this is me. After I didn't born into this world with a head of hair. So ladies, anybody is listening and you're really struggling from putting yourself forward and that confidence, and you've lost your hair and you may have lost your breasts, and so listen, you are fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God. And you have so much, to use Kamala's word, so much value to bring into this world. Just by this fire and this testimony that you are going through, there is a message in your mess. And I want to encourage us all just to own who we are as supreme beings and tap into that inner power. It don't matter if we have, here or not. And yes, you may say, yes, Tanya, you can say that no, but take it from somebody who has been there.
Yeah.
Own it. Let's step up and own our power. And just live and dare to thrive through it all. Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot of power with helping one another. I will say that there's a ton of power when you can reach out and help somebody like this. There's a ton of power and it feels really good.
Yeah. And as it turns out, even now in the pandemic, when a lot of counselors, coaches, therapists have been giving suggestions for how to manage and how to increase well-being, one of the things that's oftentimes on the list of things to do is to practice giving outwards focusing outwards. So when we sit and we are all focused on what's good, not going on with me, how I'm feeling, how I, me, it tends to kind of intensify the loop, that negative loop, that depressive, anxious loop. But when we look outwards and find ways in which we can, even in small ways, be of service to others, it's a huge mood booster. It does so much for our morale, and it literally can be curative for many of us. So there's therapy.
Yes.
And therapy in helping others.
Yes.
Yes. Wow, ladies. I am so grateful for all of you. I'm really so grateful that you felt you could come and share your journey and your insight from a unique perspective to everyone who is listening to us tonight. Tanya, someone says they need some strong encouragement from you. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I was just going to share my number because that's one of the things that I have been fortunate enough to do throughout my journey. As I ran into women at the clinic or physio or so, just I remember one lady seeing me recently and she said, Tanya, it worked. And I said, what worked? And she said, that gratitude journaling thing that you told me to do.
Yes.
So Tanisha, I see you, and I'm going to put my number here for sure. Sure.
Like I said, guys, I mean, I know this may be the final episode in this series, but certainly it's not the end of the connection with everyone here.
No.
Going forward, not tonight, going forward though, in the new year, we'll share how we're going to be able to, to connect with everyone. But I just want to say thank you to all of you who've been with us on this journey from the beginning. This was kind of literally a dream of mine that has kind of come to life because of the journeys I've shared with so many and some of the challenges I would have seen them go through, and some of the triumphs I would have seen them go through. So it wasn't just all based on challenges now, guys. I've seen some women and some individuals that have so inspired me in my own life to truly live and share and support because of how powerful they have been on their own journeys, and so that's what kind of fueled my fire to create this program. And I'm overwhelmed by the love and support of everyone who has participated. And I just so thank you, Tanya, for the love. I don't want to come on here and cry and look silly. So just thank you so much, Going forward, there's some of the things that we are trying to do here with Navigating Health Services. And you heard Sonia mention her care packages, and we are putting together some resource kits to assist. We have a Reach 100 program. We're trying to reach, as a start, 100 persons. And we're not just saying women, because I know we have a group that's female strong, but we still have to remember that there are a lot of men who need our support who also are going through the breast cancer journey. And for them, it may be even a bit more challenging coming out to express themselves publicly because of stigma and so many other issues that we could go on all night to discuss. But it's important for us to remember that they too have a space in this conversation. And so we're putting together these resource kits, and we're going to need support, your support, to assist us to do this. Financial, other support, as whatever support you feel you can give us on that journey. But we're not just doing the resource kits, we're also creating a breast navigation program. And the aim is to start by reaching 100 women as well with this program, to help you get through this journey, to support on different stages of the journey. I've seen a lot of conversation come up in the chat about, questions such as what do you eat, and support at various stages of a diagnosis, basically. And so what we want to do, or what we will be doing is or what we're working on currently is a program that's going to be able to assist at different stages of the journey, right? So from diagnosis to ultimately navigation sometimes start from screening, you know. So it's really screening to diagnosis to treatment and beyond. Yes, wherever that beyond leads us, that's how we want to offer support at the various stages. And so we invite you to reach out to us. Christine, you're putting certain links in there, but you put in a link for our email address, which you would have seen, once you signed up for this, broadcast, webinar, podcast, all the various names it has been called. But we also have a number you can reach out to us on WhatsApp, and we'll put that in there too, but it's 876-827-5634. We'll put it in the chat as well. And you can reach out to us on WhatsApp to have conversations. It has been amazing how many people have been reaching out to me. I spent up to 2 hours with someone on the phone the other day. I just couldn't come off the phone with her. She had a lot to share, and she needed someone to talk to and to share with. And so we're open to being there for you, to offering you the types of support that you may need. So I am throwing it out now, guys, to you. If there are any other questions that you'd like to ask us while we're here. Patrice, do you work at Hope Institute Hospital? I don't work at Hope Institute Hospital, but I've been a part of the Hope Institute family for a while. I volunteered there for years, and and I know some Hope Institute staff have been faithful supporters of this program. Some nursing staff. We had Dr. Spence here as an attendee and as a panelist on Who's on Your Team. So they've been quite supportive, and I thank you for your support. So any other questions, any comments, anything you guys would like to share with us before we close off this program tonight?
I want to first thank you, Patrice. I really appreciated this opportunity. It's been extremely amazing for my healing to be on this episode, to be on your first episode. I want to thank the panelists. They're all wonderful people who bring a lot to the panel. I want to say that I'm here for anybody that has questions, concerns, just need to talk. I'm on Instagram quite regularly. I did post my phone number on there. I'm happy to get any messages, text messages, or calls at any time. And again, thank you to everybody.
Yes, thank you, Sonia. I mean, when I met Sonia, I just saw her on Instagram and felt connected and reached out to her.
Yes, thank you for doing it.
I'm grateful for COVID in the sense that so for someone like me who's not normally doing those things,
Yes.
it presented an opportunity, to utilize social media that we use for so many different things to make connections, valuable connections with, each other. And so that's how I met Sonia, and I'm grateful that she came on board and shared her story and continues to be super duper supportive of us on this journey as well. So thank you so much, Sonia, for doing that.
You're welcome.
Kamali had something to say.
Sure. So I wanted to just ask Sonia for your Instagram handle so I can follow you.
Sure. It's yes, it's thank you for asking. It's Sonia Saviors, SONJASSABIORS 2018. So it's Sonia Saviors 2018. That's my little girl Penny.
Mm-hmm. Penny's a regular on her Instagram page.
She is a regular. Yep. She's my sidekick. She's my they call her my assistant.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And all of us are on Instagram.
Yes.
So we can probably just type in the chat our handles to follow. Kamala wears many hats, as I said, and she has some beautiful self-care products that we will also be utilizing in our resource kits. So you can follow Kamala. Which handle would you like them to follow you at?
Let me drop it in the chat at White Lotus Blooms.
White Lotus Blooms. Yes.
So I just wanted. Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, finish what you're saying.
Okay, so in response to your first prompt for us to just drop any final words, I want to say thanks to you, Patrice, for being so committed to the work, for Dr. Christine Thorpe, who has been there from like foundational with you building this out. It's really amazing to see a dream come to fruition and impacting people in a real time, you know, in a real way. And I'm really proud of Tanya and Sonia as well for the way they are navigating their journeys, and to Sonia for being so intentional about giving back. I think it's really inspiring and really beautiful. And to those who are listening, I believe that life is such a precious gift. So I just want to remind us, I mean, the 10, maybe 6 of the 10, what you call them, lessons or characteristics that you shared earlier, to me could easily be grounded in living a life that you deserve.
Yes.
And so I just want to remind us that we deserve good things. And so taking time to nourish self, taking time to say no, taking time to be honest about what we really want and don't want, all of those things tie into being free to live a life that we deserve. So that would be my reminder to us, especially as we're starting a fresh new year, hopefully.
Yes.
I want to remind us to really embrace those things.
Definitely. And if anybody out there would like to get a copy of those 10 characteristics, just email us at Navigating Health Services or DM us on Instagram or Facebook. And I'll be happy to get a copy of that to you if you feel like that's something you would want to have. Christine, do you have any final thoughts to share?
I guess for me, it's coming from the beginning when patient navigation started training with Dr. Freeman, to seeing it grow and take root in Jamaica and now move to where we have it here in a series and plans for beyond. I could never imagine that my first training with Dr. Freeman would lead me on this journey here today. And I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that I took a leap of faith with this gentleman and his experience and developed this training with him to come to this point where we're having this conversation about how to really provide true support, how to provide true empowerment and education to anyone on any journey, whether it's a cancer-related journey or any other condition, and show a new opportunity, a new face to what could be compared to what has been done before. So, Patrice, I'm really glad that you took hands with me years ago and said, yes, I'll do this, because there was a lot brewing in you. And this was another piece of that puzzle to add to the fabric of what we see here this evening. I thank all of you for bearing yourselves and sharing yourselves here on this call and enabling others to see that through you, the hope and the vision and the possibility and the inspiration is very real. And I'm so grateful to have this moment. So I thank you, and much love to you, Patrice, as always.
Thank you, guys. And I see Alicia saying thank you. This was powerful. Thank you, Alicia, for sharing, for being a part of this. And thank you to everybody who's still here with us. We went a little over time, but it's the final in this leg of the journey series. So, you know, we just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to speak and to share and to express gratitude. And so you're all an inspiration. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so we invite you to share this with others if you feel that they would benefit from it. And if you just joining us, like I said, you can go on YouTube and you can find all our episodes listed there.
I added the link in the chat for the YouTube.
Oh,
so
it was being super efficient. She added the link.
I'm quiet. I'm busy working behind the scenes like I typically do.
Like she usually would be doing for us, you know.
I
but
put the link
there to share her lovely face tonight. But I'm glad, Anne-Marie, that you felt it was worth watching. And if you feel it's worth watching and sharing with someone else, share with them. Because we just want as many people as possible who need support to get it.
Yes.
So this is me saying, a very good night. And thank you to everyone. So last call, questions, comments? If not, thank you to all my faithful people. There's so many here that I see every single time. I thank you to Beverly for sharing and for being here, faithful every time. You know, thank you, all of you. Please reach out to us, communicate with us. You know, we're looking forward to hearing from you and sharing with you. And we will be contacting you all, you know, on the various platforms to share with you what we're going to do going forward. So if you'd like to email us, so we have your contact, so we can, you know, add you and share with you, so you know what we're about. Thank you again.
Do you have a timeline for the GoFundMe campaign to reach 100? I think that would help us to kind of be mindful of how much time we have.
Well, the timeline, well, we would like to start this program in the first quarter of next year, right? So I would say February is a good timeline. There are other ways that we will be sharing how you can support the program as well, if not on GoFundMe. There are other ways to support, and that's going to be coming out soon. So I will be emailing information out to everyone on how you can support the program as well. So look out for that. And once again, thank you all. Blessings and love.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yes, Merry Christmas. I had a Christmas decor and I forgot to say Merry Christmas. I know it's been a challenging year for a lot of us, but we have to just express gratitude for being alive in this moment when so many may have lost throughout the year. And so we just want to say thank you and be grateful for life. Merry Christmas when it comes. Happy New Year when it comes, and let's just be open to embrace the experience that's coming in 2021, whatever that may be. Yes, knowing that we're fully equipped to deal with it. That's why we're still here. So good night, everyone.
Good night, Patrice. Good night, everybody.
Sisters, take care.
Bye.